We got to talk about Chelsea Football Club because winning the Club World Cup has changed their future, not just financially, but you've got to look at the pool that Chelsea are going to have coming into this transfer market. We know that Chelsea want a centre back. We know that Chelsea want a goalkeeper. We know that Chelsea want some more attacking reinforcement. And I assume Chelsea might also look at maybe signing a backup left back so Cucurella can finally have some rest, because I believe he played like 5,000 minutes of football last season, which is absolutely crazy. So we're going to talk about Chelsea's future, what next, what to expect in the transfer window now the Club World Cup is over, because Chelsea's transfer window is probably going to very much heat up. But first of all, why does winning the Club World Cup, why is that huge? Why is that huge for Chelsea's future? Why is that huge for the transfer window that is up and coming? So, obviously, it was a very dominant win versus PSG for Chelsea, but it wasn't just a victory. It wasn't just the finances that come from that victory, but it was a statement to the world. It wasn't Chelsea beating PSG 1-0. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't, oh, we'll 1-0 win over PSG and it was a tight game. It was Chelsea battering PSG. This is the PSG that are meant to be the best team in the world. This is the PSG that battered Real Madrid 4-0, battered Inter Milan 5-0. This is this invincible PSG. They come against Chelsea and it's a 3-0 loss, 3-0 down within the first half. Absolutely destroyed. And this is the Club World Cup final. Everybody was watching that game. Everybody in the world was watching that game. Every player was watching that game nearly. And that's when they all saw Chelsea. They all saw what Chelsea did to PSG. They all saw what Chelsea was capable of. And I think that win, particularly the way in which Chelsea won, the way in which they battered PSG, has re-established Chelsea as a serious contender in Europe. They're back in the Champions League. They've been out of it for 2-3 years. But this today was Chelsea, one of the big boys. This was reminding people Chelsea, one of the big boys. They have the financial boost, 87.5 million in prize money, UCL qualification that they got earlier in the season. But they've said, no, we're a serious team. We're up there with the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Manchester Cities, the Liverpools. And people on the market like Rodyrgo, who's on the market, they will see that. And Chelsea will have that extra bit of pull that they wouldn't have had they not won that game in that way. The world saw, wait, Chelsea, this project has been criticised. Blueco has been criticised a bit. Clear Lake has been criticised a bit. And you know what? Fairly so. But people will be looking at it saying, the project worked. Sacking Poch, bringing Maresca in, that was controversial at the time because Poch ended the season quite well. The players they brought in, the players they got rid of, the players they spent some larger sums on, Caicedo and Enzo, look at the money spent on them now. Bargains. It's working for Chelsea. It's a sign of actually there is a project there. There's evidence of a project. Chelsea at the beginning of the season were boys. Chelsea have ended the season men. And this now just increases Chelsea's pool in the transfer window more. They got 87.5 million from the Club World Cup. They've made 82 million from the sales of Madueke, Petrovic, Kepa. They're obviously working on other sales. There's rumours of Manchester United and Nicholas Jackson, although I don't know if Man United would have the money to pay the 50, 60 million price tag on that. Who knows? But that's like 170 million available for Chelsea. That is some good spending power, and that is enough to reshape their squad with some top-tier talent. So we're going to look at the players that Chelsea have been linked to. We're going to get into the Chelsea news and break that down for you guys. So it's been confirmed that Chelsea remain open to signing a new wide player. I mean, I don't think that needed to be confirmed. You didn't get Sancho. Madueke is gone. Gittens has come in. Neto's there. Palmer can play out wide. Estevao can play out wide. But your only natural wingers are Neto and Gittens. So it was obvious Chelsea were going to sign a wide player. Now, Morgan Rogers is not a wide player under Enzo Maresca. Morgan Rogers can play wide if he's playing more of like a central wide role. He's not necessarily a touchline player, whereas someone like Gittens is and someone like Neto is, and they really suit Maresca ball. But there's interest in Morgan Rogers. That's the top player, and I think he could work really well just behind someone like Gian Pedro. But you have got Kobama there, Estevao there. But Morgan Rogers would be a good buy. But the interesting one is Garnacho. We're going to talk about Rodyrgo. We're going to talk about other names linked. But the interesting one is Garnacho, because I'm saying this now as a Manchester United fan. The problem with Garnacho isn't ability or potential. The problem with Garnacho is his sort of ego and his personality. Garnacho is a lot better than he gets credit for online. I think because Manchester United is so bad and everything's so negative around Manchester United, there's always someone that they need to take it out on. Half our fan base hates Bruno Fernandes. For me, Garnacho is frustrating. He's wasteful in front of goal at times. There's an attitude issue there. But Garnacho is one of those players, when he gets the ball, he makes things happen. And Garnacho is one of those players that has bad PR, but is better than his PR. And that's the case for a lot of Man United players, to be honest. We look at the amount of Manchester United players that have left us and actually been good. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying that Chelsea should necessarily sign Garnacho. Like, if Rodrygo's there, you go for Rodrygo over Garnacho. Like, that makes common sense. But I'm looking at Anthony and Real Betis. We're looking at McTominay and what he's done at Napoli. We're looking at, like, the fact that every single Manchester United player has left us and done better. Like, Sancho, out of all the recent players that have left us, was probably the worst. And he was actually all right at you guys. And if you think of the fact that Garnacho was far better than Sancho at Man United and was the reason Sancho couldn't get minutes, I think Garnacho would be very good at Chelsea, and I think that he would be a better signing than gets credit for online. I'm not going to lie. The problem with Garnacho is the ego. The problem with Garnacho is the attitude. But I think he could cook under Enzo Maresca, and I'm saying that as a Man United fan that likes Garnacho, that sees that he's 20 and raw and sees there's a bit about him, and he's very good at getting in dangerous areas, and he suits Maresca. Now, again, I'm not saying that Chelsea should sign Garnacho, but I see a lot of Chelsea fans hate those links, and I understand why they hate it for attitude reasons. I understand why they would prefer players like Rodrygo. It makes more sense. Look, Rodrygo, Kvaratskhelia, like, if you can get one of those kind of players, you go for it. But I do think Garnacho would be a good addition for Chelsea. Another player they've been linked to, and they've been looking at sort of a left-sided centre-back, which surprises me because I thought he'd look maybe more right-sided centre-back. But it's Hato. So Chelsea, according to Ben Jacobs, have held fresh talks for Hato, who can play left-back and left centre-back. So I guess that, ticks two birds with one stone. In the sense of Hato can be cover for Cucurella and good cover at left back. Obviously, it's a very talented young player, one of the highest rated young centre backs in football, and we know that Chelsea absolutely like a young talent. I think Hato is so technically good. He's such a good leader for his age. I think he's such an elite player and such an elite versatile player. I think he's going to the top. I think his ceiling is at the top. I think it would be an unbelievable signing for Chelsea. But I do sometimes look at Chelsea and think Hato is great, bring him in. But I feel like you still need that leader, that Thiago Silva replacement, maybe someone with a bit of experience that could potentially go in your back line. I feel like Mark Gay was kind of the obvious one, but the situation with Mark Gay then became, I think he wants Liverpool now, and you did kind of sell him. But it'll be interesting to see what Chelsea do there. And I do apologise if there's any lag. I don't know why there's lag, because the Wi-Fi test says that my connection is very good. It's very fast, around 100 megabytes per second, but it seems to be a little bit laggy on my screen. So I'm hoping that doesn't come out and impact the video quality. But that is an interesting thing there. But continuing on into other Chelsea news and updates, we obviously know that Chelsea and their future will likely bring in a new attacker. And they literally lagged out. This is why I hate recording in a hotel, because the Wi-Fi is iffy, and that's also why I'm recording in the bathroom, if you didn't know that. But yes, Romano said that Chelsea will continue to explore several attacking options, understanding that both Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku could leave this summer. We obviously know that Chelsea want to bring in a winger, but it could be 2 forward additions with those players leaving that would fund that as well. There's also discussions going over a centre-back. So we've also got confirmation that Chelsea want a centre-back, they want an attacker or two. I assume Chelsea want a goalkeeper because they did have talks with Mike Magnan earlier in the window, and I think with Petrovic going, and I think Sanchez was very good in the Club World Cup final, but you could do with an upgrade there. I'm sure you're looking at goalkeepers as well. But Romano again confirmed Chelsea are looking at attacking additions. And one option that could be on the market, now something tells me don't rule out Liverpool with Diaz set to leave, potentially if buying up their bid. But this is Rodyrgo, £70 million. Real Madrid want to get rid of him. Xabi Alonso wants to get rid of him. It could be a Frankie de Jong situation, because there's basically reports coming out saying that Rodyrgo himself doesn't want to leave, whereas like his manager's trying to get rid of him, his clubs are trying to get rid of him, the club is trying to get rid of him, even some of the fans want him gone. I think there's a market there where Arsenal have interest, but I think Madueke and Eze and Gyökeres would mean Arsenal don't have the funds for that unless they sell Martinelli. Liverpool, would have interest, and potentially Chelsea. I feel like if you leave Real Madrid, you go to the Premier League, it's the next best place to go. You could argue Bayern Munich, but if they get Diaz, the opportunity doesn't necessarily open up too much there. I feel like it is the next best place to go. And obviously, with Chelsea winning the Club World Cup, with Chelsea back in the Champions League, with the money that's been brought in, Chelsea can offer him wages and this kind of hype in this project. And I think there's some very good players at Chelsea, really good South American talent at Chelsea. You can play with Estevao, someone he'll know, and that there's a bit of future there. But Chelsea have proven under Maresca they've won 2 trophies. Maresca's already won more trophies than Arteta. You know, Maresca's proven himself as a manager that can win trophies. He adapted it in the Conference League final quite well because Chelsea started that game poorly. His tactics versus PSG was spot on. He played Cole Palmer out wide. Malo Gusto gave Nuno Mendes the hardest game of his life, and they exploited PSG's troubles out wide. Maresca's proven himself as like a good manager now as well, which could help increase Chelsea's pull. Bear in mind, Chelsea's pull has always been very good in the window. They're a team that wins trophies. They're a team that wins European competitions and world competitions. But again, the 87.5 million from the Club World Cup can pay off the fees, but also battering PSG in that manner, it's going to attract players, surely. So what's Chelsea's future like? Why is it huge? Why should Chelsea fans be excited? And what could the strategy include? A new goalkeeper, a new centre-back is confirmed. They want a new centre-back. Adding a new goalkeeper, I assume, is likely. I assume it's on the agenda. And bringing in attacking reinforcements, whether it's 1 or 2, is yet to be seen. It'll be interesting to see if you get a Cucurella backup or if you get someone like Hato that can play centre-back and left-back. Because I think Cucurella was run into the ground. I know Chilwell's technically still at the club, isn't he? So, Chelsea have got their number 9 in João Pedro, and Delap and Gittens are very good options in the door, although we're yet to see Gittens yet, and I think Delap will be back up to João Pedro. João Pedro's got that 9 on lockdown. The wingers linked to them are Rodyrgo, Garnacho, Rodgers and Fofana. Fofana very young but great talent. Everyone was talking about Cherki, but when Man United played Lyon, Fofana was better than Cherki in that game. Rodrigo's the obvious name. Garnacho's a better signing than people think, and Rodgers is a brilliant player, but I don't think he suits Maresca on the wing. Obviously, centre-backs that have been linked are like Hato, Gay. I think you were linked to Murillo, but I can't see Forest selling any more players after being raided of potentially Elanga and Gibbs-White. Goalkeeper, I could see you making a move for Lucas Chevalier of Lille, if I was going to be honest. So let's talk about Chelsea's business so far. So obviously they've got Jamie Gittens in. He's built for possession-based football that is playing him out wide. He struggled the second half of the season at Dortmund because the new manager wanted him to play more central. Maresca wants his wingers possession-based football out wide that suits Jamie Gittens. He's explosive, he's technical, he's young, he can play both wings, he's got future starter potential, and he's definitely good enough to start now. If we see the Gittens we saw at the start of last season, he's good enough to start for Chelsea now. It'll be interesting to see if we see that Gittens straight away at Chelsea. But he played well at Dortmund until a new manager came in and he moved him more centrally, which isn't his game. So I do think Maresca ball suits Gittens. And Gittens himself described himself, and this is how Gittens described himself here, as he said, I'm a very direct winger, lots of dribbling actions, trying to make stuff happen, be creative, score and assist and hard work. That's what I think the fans will see from me. And Gittens describes himself well. He knows himself well, but who are Chelsea's other targets and where else could Chelsea be turning to in the market? So some of the names they've been linked to include Gay, Braithwaite, Hato, and I think there's been some rumours of Lukaku and Hinkapie, but nothing, super credible in that. Chelsea have been linked to more left centre-backs than right centre-backs in Hato. There was a rumour about Murillo earlier in the window. There was rumours about Lukaku and Hinkapie earlier in the window. Braithwaite and Gay. Chelsea have been linked to a lot of good centre-backs. I think all of the centre-backs on these lists would be really good options. I almost think right centre-back is better for Chelsea because I think Colwill is a really good player. And if you brought a really good box defender to pair Colwill with, I think that Chelsea's backline would be very good. But Chelsea have been linked to a lot of centre-backs, and it's very clear that Chelsea do want to sign a centre-back. Gay, I feel like, is the obvious in terms of Prem proven, but I think he's Liverpool bound. Chelsea also have Estevao coming in. We talk about Chelsea needing a winger, but Estevao can play on the wing. There's rumours that he wants to play 10. That is Palmer's position, but he can play on the wing. He's known as Messino in Brazil. He is a generational winger. We saw him for Palmeiras in the Club World Cup. Estevao coming in for Chelsea is a very exciting talent that no doubt in my mind will massively improve Chelsea and level them up there. But you also talk about other players coming in for Chelsea. Gittens and Estevao, 2 exciting young talents. But there will be future players coming in that they sign in the next few weeks. And with Estevao coming in, Chelsea have got a really good technical talent, someone with great close control, someone for his age that is an elite level talent, that has got good vision, good playmaking ability, can use both feet, is confident to take people on and make things happen. There's also Rodyrgo that Chelsea are looking at signing, and I think he would be a good addition for Chelsea. Again, he's not maybe a natural wide winger like Maresca likes, but when this kind of player is available on the market for a good price, you can't really ignore it. He can play anywhere across the front three. I think he's better on the left when he can cut inside, but he can also play on the right. He's very agile, hard to dispossess. I think the ball can stick to his feet like glue, and I think he's a really good player. But one player I think Chelsea should look at, and I don't know if you've been linked to him yet, but you need a goalkeeper. You don't seem to be getting Mike McMahon. Joan Garcia's off the market. I think you should look at Lucas Chevalier. He was Lille's shot stopper last season. He was a very good modern keeper. He's an upgrade on Sanchez to me. And for me, he's a very young player with good potential. I actually wrote a little bit here about Garnacho and how only Doué and Yamal, aged 21 or under, got more goal contributions than him. And Garnacho's strengths, 1v1 attackers, how he's done well in the big games. He's got really good work rate, Garnacho. He's got attitude issues, but it's not work rate, it's ego. You know, he's got a little bit of the confidence, the fire. He likes to make things happen, take people on. He likes to take risks. He likes to get in good areas. Yes, he misses and he can be frustrating, but I think Garnacho is a better signing than he gets credit for. But we're looking at Rodyrgo, Garnacho, Hato, Chevalier going into Chelsea, and I think it's all good additions. We'll see if Chelsea really go in for Rodyrgo. We'll probably get more updates this week on Chelsea's attacking plans. Could they make a move for Ekitike? But they've got João Pedro now, so I think they'll be looking at wingers, centre-backs, goalkeeper, see what they do. But yeah, I think Chelsea's future is looking very bright. Thank you for watching. Bye.